And so once again, we have gifts bestowed upon us here at Park City Television as we examine those who examine with a very fine lens. In this case, a duo that has been here before, not so long ago. It's just 2 years ago that Me at the Zoo was here at the Sundance Film Festival, and I am pleased to be joined by the filmmakers from this year's film, Love Child. This is Valerie Veach and David Fuchs. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good.
So great to have you here.
Thank you
It's
very
wonderful
much.
to be here.
It's such an interesting contrast to have this wonderful vibe and for someone like me to read the initial synopsis of this film that at first seems gutting, and yet it seems as though what you've done in the journey of filmmaking is to examine deeply and to see how much more there is to consider about the situation that you address in Love Child. Give folks a little overview of the film that you've made.
Totally. Our film follows the story of the first tried case of internet addiction. Set in Seoul, South Korea in 2010, we follow the trial of this young couple who were immersed in an online fantasy game and had a real-life baby, and they were working to raise this online child, and through just the chaos of that, they became overly immersed in their video game, and their real-life baby died of neglect. And in the ensuing trial, we see the first time where internet addiction was used as a mental illness defense. And it kind of, to us as filmmakers, sort of represented like a shift in the paradigm around virtual reality, where, you know, previously I think there was a big distinction between the virtual world and the real world. And a story like this kind of collapses that difference and shows how very vivid the virtual space is.
And how substantially the virtual space is impacting the real world.
Yeah.
In a visceral way.
Yes, so it was exciting to go to Korea, and David can speak a little bit about our experiences in Korea, but it was exciting to see how much social innovation is happening around technology, how, you know, addiction and immersion are issues that Korea is facing, but also how Korea is working to create media literacy programs and working to solve the problem of internet addiction with, you know, better design, better software, and better social planning.
And just better awareness that this is a attack that can be taken. David, you were making a really good point as we were getting ready to go on camera here about the difference, especially for us here in America, but I'm sure in other countries around the world, of how technology in Korea and how far ahead they are of us, so to speak, as Americans, has impacted a situation like this.
Yeah, Korean technological advanced, you know, the society is so advanced technologically. They've had the equivalent of Facebook for many, many years before we even knew about Facebook. They've had high-speed internet right from the very start, you know, for many years. So everything that's developed in Korea is developed around a much faster online environment. So the culture, the online culture, and the blurred line between reality and the virtual world is more, you know, prevalent, or you can see it in a much more real way in Korea. And that is coming to the US as high-speed internet in the US becomes more, you know, penetrates more.
I'm very careful to ascribe judgments or observations about not only this film, but about taking a look at Me at the Zoo and this film taken together because they've come in succession. But the migration theme is something that I really see in the stories that you're telling. In the case of Chris Crocker, the being misunderstood as kind of the starting point of the film, and helping folks understand him, and in this case, that there's more to it than a snap judgment of these people made terrible mistakes, they are bad people, and we can wash our hands in judgment and say that's all there is to it. And I understand that this is a film that gets there with the complexity of the question.
Thank you for noticing that as a filmmaking style, and something that we really try to do whenever telling a story is to take some of those preconceptions that the news media or the kind of mainstream storytelling mechanisms, the labels they put on a situation. So with Me at the Zoo, our main character was a misunderstood, bullied internet star who kind of was searching for his voice in his home. And through telling the story, we could really create a kind of complexity to his character that never existed and that meant a lot to us. Similarly with Love Child, there was so much shaming and kind of patriarchy around the way that the story was portrayed. Like, oh, that mother is evil. She was terrible. She had, there was just a lot of like...
end of discussion.
End of discussion, right. And so, the more we looked at the story, the more we read about the trial, the more we just started making the film. It's just such a complicated media environment we live in. We can't... Who's to say what a mother is instinctually drawn to? Who's to say what she's supposed to be drawn to? The game that the couple was playing in the film was actually designed to create a female usership. So a lot of the mechanisms that went into creating the game, kind of like psychological mechanisms, mirrored child rearing,
nurturing, and
exactly.
those kinds of natural instincts.
So it was great to take the film and to really take the time to show a more complex story than what was initially being portrayed, which is, I think, the fun of a feature-length film.
Absolutely.
I was just going to add, Love Child is a story of compassion, not shaming. So, there are many pitfalls to our new internet immersion, and, by looking at it with a compassionate eye, it might make it easier to solve the problems of the future regarding our use of the internet.
And we use a very well-known, almost a trope from the Christian mode of "Let he who hath not sinned cast the first stone," and yet that seems to be a very difficult thing for us to do. I'd like to say thank you for going past that and working deeply into the consideration of all of the characteristics of the particular situation. David, I have one last question that I want to ask you, because as I see the dynamic between the two of you as a great partnership in just moving about the studio here as you arrived, and yet in your role as a producer, talk a little bit about what it's, do you have the best seat in the house from the start? Is that,
oh, yeah.
Is that who you are?
Yeah, best seat in the house. Producing a film with my best friend and partner, Valerie, is it's very joyous. It's very intense. The key seems to be logistics. Everything comes down to logistics and time, and scheduling and coordinating in a sometimes amidst a lot of chaos. So What I was going to say one other thing with regard to the Pope had come out with a statement that there's a blurred line between the virtual and the real. You can't have this duality in our with amoral virtual world when they're so overlapping.
The Pope appeared at a religious event in Rio via teleconference, and somehow he was able to give a blessing or something through that virtual connection, which opened up this whole, this is like a couple weeks ago, which opened up this whole can of worms for the church now, which is, if the virtual space is not...
Do the blessings go through the internet? Do
right.
they pass through?
Can you tweet a pardon or a condolence or whatever?
And is it...
And you can
is
now.
It acceptable?
So, yes. So similar to this story, then we see this kind of third space opening up, which is the real virtual.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Would that I were Charlie Rose, we would have another 53 minutes, but I am grateful to the two of you for coming here.
Thank you so much for having us on. This is wonderful.
Warmest wishes for a fantastic Sundance Film Festival. And tell folks where they can follow Love Child.
Yes, at our Twitter, at Love Child Movie.
Love Child Movie it
yes.
is. David Fuchs, Valerie Veach, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
the
you.
film is Love Child. Make sure to put it on your list of documentary full-length films that you must see as soon as you can.